When Hunter Biden took his damaged laptop to a computer repair shop in Wilmington, Delaware in 2019, it was the beginning of a series of fateful events that would culminate in the New York Times last week finally admitting that Hunter's laptop and its contents are real. The emails on Hunter's laptop proved that Joe Biden, his brother James, and his son Hunter were all deeply entangled in dubious overseas business ventures, including in Qatar, Ukraine, Russia, and China. They also showed that Hunter was directed by the head of Burisma's board to stop the investigation into the Ukrainian energy company. The intentionally delayed admission from corporate media that Hunter's laptop is real raises many material questions, including those surrounding Joe Biden's fitness for office and his ability to direct our foreign policy, particularly in relation to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Hi everyone, and welcome to Truth Over News with Jeff Carlson and Hans Manke.
The existence of Hunter's laptop was first publicly disclosed on October 14, 2020, when the New York Post ran a front-page story detailing how emails found on Hunter's laptop tied Joe Biden to Hunter's Ukrainian business partners. When the story first broke, a broad coalition of corporate media, intelligence officials, and big tech companies interfered in the 2020 election by censoring and then suppressing the story, claiming that it was a Russian plot. Twitter first issued warnings regarding the Post story, and then suspended the account of the New York Post for running the story, along with those of reporters who were looking into the allegations. Facebook announced that they would be limiting distribution of the story on their platform while they supposedly fact-checked the story. That fact-check never came. Throughout the 2020 campaign, Joe Biden repeatedly denied any knowledge of Hunter's overseas business dealings. During the second presidential debate, Biden recited a statement from a group of more than 50 former intelligence officials, including former CIA Director John Brennan and James Clapper, the former Director of National Intelligence, who all falsely claimed that the Hunter laptop story was Russian disinformation. The intelligence officials issued their statement directly in front of the 2020 presidential election through a public letter on October 19th, which stated that the Post story has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. The claim of a Russian plot was preposterous. Many of the emails on Hunter's laptop had already been verified by the Biden family's one-time business partner, Tony Bobulinski, who had matching copies of many of the same emails and text messages. Of greater importance, the FBI had taken possession of Hunter's laptop in December 2019. Moreover, the FBI had opened an investigation into Hunter for multiple offenses, including money laundering and possible FARA violations. But the corporate media ignored or worse still hid these facts, choosing instead to push the Russian disinformation claim.
In the end, the media suppression tactics worked, and many Biden voters never found out about Hunter's laptop or the fact that the Biden family was under FBI investigation. A post-election poll found that public knowledge of this information would have changed the outcome of the election. Then Attorney General Bill Barr, who ultimately oversaw the investigation into Hunter Biden, has never adequately explained why that information was concealed both from the 2020 electorate and from Trump's impeachment trial, which was premised on Trump's intention to investigate the Biden family's corruption in Ukraine. It was only after the conclusion of the 2020 presidential election that Hunter himself suddenly acknowledged that he was indeed under federal investigation. Notably, the actual federal investigation was even broader than Hunter's statement had indicated, as it was later disclosed that the investigators were also probing potential money laundering and Hunter Biden's foreign ties. That investigation continues to this day and appears to be heating up. Indeed, it's likely that the belated admission by the New York Times is an attempt to get ahead of that story, particularly as reports have now begun to circulate that Hunter is currently the subject and/or target of a grand jury investigation.
Perhaps the most damning email on Hunter's laptop was the one that Hunter received on November 2, 2015 from the head of Burisma's board, Vadim Pozharskyi. That email tasked Hunter with producing deliverables, stating that the ultimate purpose was to close down any cases or pursuits against Burisma owner Zlochevsky in Ukraine. Pozharsky's target was Ukraine's general prosecutor Viktor Shokin, who had reopened an investigation into Zlochevsky that had been shut down by his predecessor in late 2014 after Burisma had allegedly paid a $7 million bribe to the Ukrainian prosecutor's office. Less than 3 weeks after Hunter received Pozharsky's email, Joe Biden issued his first demand that Shokin be removed. After Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko failed to comply with the demands, Biden leveraged $1 billion in U.S. taxpayer loan guarantees to force Shokin's removal. Shokin was finally removed in March 2016. By the time Biden left office in January 2017, all investigations into Burisma had been closed. There are many other damaging emails on Hunter's laptop. In the space of just 1 year, a now-defunct Chinese conglomerate paid Hunter nearly $6 million for consulting and legal fees. The company was owned by Chinese billionaire Yi Jianming, who mysteriously disappeared in March 2018. After the company folded, a company secretary emailed Hunter to say that he should take any remaining money from an offshoot company, Hudson West 4, run by Yi associate Guang Wendong.
Hunter's financial transactions were subsequently flagged as suspicious activities by the corporate compliance team at Wells Fargo, who sent Hunter a list of questions, including several questions that related to transfers being made to Biden's brother James. It is not known if the Wells Fargo inquiries were resolved. This same company also paid Hunter $1 million to find a US-based attorney for Patrick Ho, another Ye associate whom Hunter later called the f***ing spy chief of China. Additionally, Hunter's company received a $3.5 million wire transfer from Elena Baturina, the widow of Russian oligarch Yuri Luzhkov, the former mayor of Moscow. The circumstances of those payments remain unclear to this day. We are currently enmeshed in a tense geopolitical situation with the Ukraine-Russia conflict, a conflict that was entirely preventable. As recently as December of 2021, Biden held out NATO membership to Ukraine, as did his Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin went even further, saying the door was wide open to Ukraine for NATO membership during an October 2021 trip to Ukraine. Those false promises were sure to provoke Russia, and they lay in stark contrast to early warnings from Biden's own CIA director, who had previously stated that NATO membership for Ukraine was the brightest of all red lines for Russia.